welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I am Hayley and I'm mum to a 10-month-old baby boy called Joel. He turned 10 months old about 4 days ago now, so I feel like I now have had enough experience with being a first-time mum to finally crack on and do this video. It's a video that I've been meaning to do for quite a few months now, but obviously life gets away with you and I just haven't got around to filming it. So I'm really excited to finally be filming this video today. So a little disclaimer before I get into the video. These are obviously just things that in my personal experience I have found since being a first time mum that I wish I'd known when I was pregnant, and some of them you can't necessarily know until you actually are there living it and you've had the baby. But I'm not doing this video to scare anyone or to like freak anyone out if you're pregnant at the moment and you're worried about how your life's going to change, but this is just literally like my honest opinions and things that I wish I'd known before I had Joel, just so I could be a little bit more prepared. Because trust me girls, whatever you think it's going to be like when you've had the baby, you can never ever be prepared for what it's going to be like, and it is always so different to how you imagined it being. So let's get into the video, and we are going to go through the top, I don't even know how many there are, my top things that I wish I'd known before I became a first time mum. Okay, so I think I will actually start with the immediate like postpartum things first, and then we'll jump into the rest of it. So number one, I wish I'd known that you would bleed for a long time after you give birth. Now, I think I kind of went into hospital knowing that I'd have a lot of heavy bleeding after I had Joel, but I didn't realise it would last for 6 weeks. Yeah, I'm not lying, it lasted 6 weeks, I would probably say. So don't worry guys, it wasn't heavy for all of that time. This is major TMI, I know, but if you're clicking on any type of motherhood video like this, you've got to expect that a lot of things in the video are going to be a little bit TMI. So I would say the really super heavy bleeding probably lasted a week or less, and then after that I was just bleeding lightly for about between like 4 and 6 weeks. I would say it was closer to 6 weeks. So yeah, if you are going into hospital soon to have a baby, just be prepared for the bleeding that comes afterwards. Your first night at home when you come out of hospital is something else. It is the most surreal experience. So number two, I wish I had been prepared for that first night at home when you come out of hospital. I just wish someone had told me how surreal and how tough it would have been, that first night at home. Obviously you've been in hospital. I was in for 2 nights, including I had Joel at 11 o'clock at night, so then I stayed in that night, and then I stayed in the next night as well because I had high blood pressure in labour, so they just wanted to check that it was all going down and stuff like that. So I stayed in for 2 nights, and obviously during that time I had all of the midwives around to help me if I needed it. Because of COVID, Steve wasn't allowed to stay with me, so yeah, I had the midwives to help me. And yeah, you don't realise actually the reality of being a first time mum properly till you get home from hospital. It doesn't really hit you till you bring that baby home. So that first night at home, guys, it is tough. Like, you're probably up every 2 hours. Joel was every 2 hours. That's normal for a newborn. Some babies are more, some are less. On average, it's every 2 hours you are going to be awake at night, and you think you're prepared for it. You're never prepared for being woken up against your will every 2 hours. So yeah, all you want to do is rest. You've just had a baby. You probably haven't slept the whole time you've been in hospital. For me, I did not sleep a wink, like not even for 5 minutes, for the first 48 hours after I had Joel. So I came home and I was like, like basically hallucinating. I might as well have been hallucinating. I was so tired and all I wanted to do was sleep. But if you take yourself off to sleep, you feel guilty. And bringing your baby home is the most amazing thing in the whole entire world, but you just realise at that point that you are never ever gonna get any time like to yourself just to take yourself off and rest, like for a long time. I'm not going to say ever again, because you will get that again, but for a long time you suddenly realise how much your life has changed and that you can't just go and take a nap when you want to take a nap. And I think that was the moment that it hit me when we brought Joel home from hospital. So that leads me on to number 3, the tiredness. Now, I know this is a really obvious one. When you're pregnant, everyone says to you, oh, you're never going to sleep again. Enjoy all your sleep while you can. Yeah, thanks, Han, I'm pregnant and I can't sleep anyway, right? I've got insomnia. Guys, I thought when I was pregnant, everyone said this to me and I was like, I've done shift work, it's absolutely fine. I've finished at 11 o'clock at night, gone home and slept for 3 hours and got up at 4 a.m. to start another shift. I used to do this when I was 21. I used to work like back to back, late earlys, and I was living on like a couple of hours sleep. But it's so different. I was like, yeah, I can handle it. I've done all of that. I'm used to it. Also, when you're pregnant, you get insomnia. You can barely sleep anyway. You're awake at like 3, 4, 5 a.m. and you literally cannot get back to sleep. But it is so different when you've got a newborn. So I went into it thinking, I've done all of that. I'll be absolutely fine. I'll cope with the sleepless nights. It will be fine. It's not until you actually have that baby and you're being woken up every 2 hours, every single night, consistently for, I would say, like the first 4 to 6 weeks against your will, and you are just on another planet. You're so tired and you don't sleep when the baby sleeps. Like, if anyone says that, just punch them in the face, okay? You have my permission. You cannot sleep when the baby sleeps. When are you meant to do anything? When are you meant to take in all of that lovely newbornness in your little newborn bubble? When the baby sleeps, for the first 6 weeks, they will be asleep on you. Like, trust me, you will not want to put them down. So it's not safe for you to go to sleep when they're on you. And also you won't be able to stop staring at them. You will literally just want to take all of that in. So yeah, the tiredness when you've got a newborn is something else, and no matter how much you think you're going to cope with it and how much you think you're prepared for it when you're pregnant and you can't sleep because you've got insomnia, trust me guys, I'm not trying to scare you, but it is worse, and I wish that someone had told me. But thank God we have got a baby that is a good sleeper. So we got him into a really strict bedtime routine at 8 weeks old. So I'd recommend when you come out of the newborn days, starting that bedtime routine early, because it's really helped. He goes down like no issue. He's down at 6:30, apart from when he's teething and we're up and down a few times because he's upset and in pain. Most of the time once he's gone to bed, you don't even know he's there. It's easy to forget that he's in the house. He is such a good baby, and I'm not bragging. And we have had the sleep regressions that come every few months, but yeah, we are incredibly lucky, and I feel like baby number 2 is going to be an absolute nightmare because I feel like I've got some karma coming my way. So number 4, breastfeeding. I wish someone had told me how damn hard breastfeeding would actually be. So when I was pregnant, I always wanted to breastfeed. I was breastfed for 6 months. My mum is very, how should I say it? She's quite pro breastfeeding. I am pro fed is best. That's my motto. But I did want to breastfeed. So when I had Joel, I tried to do colostrum harvesting. It didn't really, I couldn't get anything out. I'd really recommend doing that, by the way, guys. Just type it into YouTube and it'll come up with colostrum harvesting. Take that into hospital with you rather than those ready-made formula bottles, because colostrum is the liquid gold and it is so good for the baby to have. So yeah, anyway, I couldn't personally get any out. Apparently it's easier with your 2nd or 3rd or 4th babies. So I didn't take any backup formula into hospital with me, and Joel wouldn't latch properly for the first 48 hours, and it was really stressful. And I came home and I thought, how the hell am I going to feed this baby? So basically the midwives wouldn't let me go home till they'd seen Joel latch, and he latched probably twice, and I was begging them to let me go home because of COVID. I was on my own. I just wanted to go home and be with Steve. I wasn't allowed any visitors in hospital, so I really didn't want to be there. And if it hadn't been for COVID, I probably would have stayed in longer and got more help with breastfeeding, because they would have let me stay in another night if I'd wanted to, and I definitely would have got more help. But because I was on my own, I didn't want to be there, and that's really sad. I do think my breastfeeding journey would have lasted longer if it hadn't have been for COVID. But anyway, I'm going off the point, which I always do. So yes, so Joel wouldn't latch for 48 hours, and they saw, when he did latch one of the times, it was Saturday morning and I was desperate to go home that day. It was after my 2nd night in hospital, and I called them over. I was like, oh, he's latched, like come and have a look. And then they were like, oh yeah, that's great, so you can go home. But I knew it wasn't going to be that easy. I knew it had taken me ages to get him to latch that time, and that's probably the 2nd time he'd done it in the first 48 hours after I had him. So I went home absolutely terrified, and the midwives were like, are you sure you're okay? Do you need any extra help? And I was like, no, I'm fine, I just want to go home. So went home, and it was so tough. I was solely responsible for feeding this baby and keeping him alive. I refused to buy any backup formula because I was determined to make my breastfeeding journey work. and it was so hard. I got mastitis twice in the first 4 weeks of having him, so I was really poorly. Some people don't get affected that badly by it, but I did, and I had a raging fever. I could not get out of bed or look after him, and I had to go on antibiotics both times. And after the second time I had it, the midwife said, look, are you actually enjoying breastfeeding? And I said, I'll be honest with you, no, I'm not. And she said, well, if you're not enjoying it, why are you putting yourself through all of this pressure? I was crying every single day because of the pressure I felt to continue with breastfeeding. And yeah, it just wasn't working out how I thought it would be. And I think when you're pregnant, you just assume that you can breastfeed, and everyone, like including myself, was like, yeah, if I can breastfeed, then great. If I can't, then it's fine. We'll just go on to formula. But in the back of your head, you will beat yourself up about it if you don't. If your breastfeeding journey doesn't work out for whatever reason, it's really hard to still have that carefree attitude that you had when you were pregnant, because you don't have the mum guilt when you're pregnant, and you don't realise what it's going to feel like for you to feel like you failed. Just remember, guys, fed is best, and I promise you, once we switched to formula, I was so much happier, and he had more of a routine. We were just both a lot happier. But I am still very easily triggered by breastfeeding stuff, and if I see anyone saying anything that's even slightly bad towards formula, I find myself just getting so angry. I'm massively triggered by anything. Like, even if I see someone celebrating their breastfeeding journey at like a year on, that's a trigger for me. I just get really upset, and it is hard. So I wish that someone had told me the guilt that you would feel if you can't breastfeed, and also how hard breastfeeding actually is. It doesn't just come naturally to most women. Like I would say like 95% of women struggle with breastfeeding in those early days at some point. So just please, guys, like be prepared for that, because I really wasn't. I literally just thought I would have him, he would latch on, and that would be it. We're good to go. It really doesn't work like that. Number 5, you do not need all of that shit in your hospital bag. So I was watching my hospital bag video back the other day, and I just was sat there and I was like, oh, hun, bless you. Like, bless you. You were so enthusiastic and clueless. And that's not like having a go at any first time mums, because I was exactly the same. You're excited. You want to pack everything. You want to be prepared. Just trust me, okay? You don't need all the shit that you pack. Like, I packed oils, I packed candles. It was lovely. They had them all there already. I just wasted space in my suitcase. I think I even debated packing a pair of bloody hair straighteners at one point. I think I might have ended up leaving them at home, but still, I debated packing them. Like, you don't need it. You don't need it. It's amazing. Like, I can't wait to do my hospital bag video for baby number 2. I'm not pregnant, and I don't intend to be for another, like, at least a year and a half. But I can't wait to do baby number 2's hospital bag video, and yeah, it's amazing how much you learn once you've had the baby and once you've been through it the first time. Number 6, the baby blues. Now, you probably would have heard about this while you've been pregnant, and I certainly did. The baby blues are not postnatal depression. Postnatal depression lasts a lot longer than the baby blues. So the baby blues they usually happen on like day 3 or day 4, when your milk properly comes in. Your boobs just explode, like because before that you have colostrum, and then your milk comes in on day 3 and 4, and you are so emotional. Like, I was quite emotional straight after I had Joel anyway, just because I had some last minute issues after being low risk the whole way through. It happens to a lot of mums, like you suddenly get problems during labour. Like, my blood pressure went high, so I couldn't have the birthing centre, so in my head, like, my ideal birth had just gone out the window, and it did affect me a little bit. Like, I was a bit emotional afterwards. That's another thing, guys, don't get too set on your birth plan. Like, 95% or probably more of births don't go to plan, and everyone told me and I didn't believe them, so just don't. But yeah, when we got home, I was super emotional, and every time I looked at Joel, I just cried, and it was like a happy cry. I just couldn't believe he was here. I just couldn't believe how much I loved him. And yeah, everyone kind of said, oh, it will only last for the first week, the baby blues, but mine probably lasted, I was probably quite tearful for between 2 and 4 weeks. But I think also it was to do with like my struggles with breastfeeding and the fact I was so run down and I kept getting ill, so that didn't help either. So if your baby blues last for like up to a month, I would say don't freak out, don't think you've got postnatal depression. I certainly don't think I had postnatal depression. The midwife didn't think I had postnatal depression. It's just baby blues, and they can last a lot longer than what you actually think they're going to, and you can be very tearful. And just think about all the hormonal changes that you're going through. It's completely normal to just like burst into tears if you like drop your phone or your keys on the floor. It's normal, so don't worry. Are we on number 6 or are we on number 7? I'm gonna say number 7. I'm sorry if I've missed one. Okay, we'll go for number 7. So number 7, babies do not need as many clothes as what you think they are going to need. Joel has, I am guilty of this one, Joel has so many clothes. It is a joke. Like, he has so many clothes, and most of the time they only get to wear them once because they grow out of stuff so quickly. And I've just got to the point now where I'm going to try and buy him 2 weeks worth of outfits in each age range, rather than like an outfit for every single day of the month, because they just don't get to wear them much before they've grown out of them. And luckily, like, he's in 9 to 12 months now. He's going into 12 to 18 months, which will be a bit better, because he will be in them for 6 months rather than 3. But for that first year, they don't need loads of clothes because they are only going to be in them for 3 months or less. So save your money, guys, and just get, I would say, like 14 vests, 14 sleep suits, then you've got 2 a day for a week, and then you can wash them, and that's all you need. That really is all you need. In the early days, they're going to live in sleep suits anyway, so I just wouldn't go out and buy the amount of stuff next time that I bought the first time round. So number 8, whatever you think you are going to do as a mum, once the baby is here, you will probably end up doing the opposite. So when I was pregnant, and this is not against anyone that chose to use dummies, because we use dummies now, but I was a bit anti-dummy and I refused to buy any dummies. Within a week of having Joel, I was online ordering dummies, and trust me, they arrived the next day and they were a lifesaver. Just give it up and buy the dummy, okay? Like, trust me, just do it. Just do it. You're gonna have such an easier life. So yeah, little things like that. I also didn't think that I would be formula feeding 5 weeks postpartum, because my breastfeeding journey didn't work out. But whatever you do is probably the opposite of what you thought you were going to do, because when the baby is actually here, you will do anything for an easy life, and you will give up the, I'm gonna do this as a mum, I'm gonna be better than that mum, I'm gonna do it perfectly, and my baby's never gonna do that or be like that. And yeah, you'll just do anything for an easy life when they're here, okay? Like, trust me on this one. So number 9, baby classes will honestly become the highlight of your week. Now, we've been in lockdown for most of my maternity leave. I'm now back at work part-time. I went back 5 weeks ago now. It's just gone so fast. But when I was on maternity leave, we did baby classes in between the lockdowns, and we still go now that we're out of lockdown. We go on a Wednesday because I don't work on Wednesdays, and they are the highlight of my week. And when you were younger, you used to get, or before you had babies, you were probably getting really excited about a night out at the weekend. I know that I was, and I could never imagine preferring going to a baby class over having a night out with my friends. And honestly, I am so buzzed to take him swimming, to go to baby class every week, and your priorities and the things that you enjoy just change like completely overnight. And I promise you guys, you will be loving life dancing in the corner at that baby class, and you won't care what anyone else thinks of you, because as soon as you see the smile on their little face, it's just like the most amazing thing in the entire world. And yeah, literally living for baby classes over here. Number 10, your life won't necessarily be over because you've got a baby. I was so worried. This is probably the thing that I was most worried about when I was pregnant, because I always went out with my friends, we always went on holiday every summer. I didn't have my first baby till I was 30, so I'd basically spent the whole of my 20s doing what I wanted. I was earning money, I would spend it on myself, I was very selfish, I was going out a lot, like going on holiday a lot, just basically doing what I wanted. And I was so scared that I would never ever be able to do that again. Like, it would literally just be over for a long time, and that I'd drift apart from all of my friends, because a lot of my best friends aren't having babies yet. But honestly, we did like an NCT course, so I met loads of mum friends, and we see each other every single week. We speak on WhatsApp every day. So I've got like them to do baby stuff with. I'd really recommend doing NCT if you're pregnant, by the way. Like, just to meet other parents in your area that are due at the same time, I would not have managed without it, especially having a baby in a pandemic. But yeah, then I've got my friends that don't have babies that we still go out and do stuff with. I'm really lucky that they are good friends and they still invite me out to stuff, and I've got loads of stuff coming up in the calendar that I'm really excited about. And don't feel guilty for, just because you've had a baby, you don't need to like not go out anymore. Don't feel guilty for going out and having your own time. You need that break, trust me. Like, it makes you a better mum. It really, really does. If I've had a break from Joel for like 12 hours because I've been out at friends or something, like, it makes me a better mum. I come back feeling refreshed. I come back like raring to go, full of like playtime ideas. If you're doing the same thing day in, day out, trying to find ways to entertain them and stuff like that, it's going to get hard. So yeah, don't worry about how your life is going to change and if you'll have to give all of these things up with your friends and stuff like that, because I promise it's okay. And you really can still do all of that stuff. Like, you really can. You just need to prioritize time for yourself. And I know it is hard, but yeah, you can very much still do what you want. You just can't do it whenever you want. Number 11, it's true what they say, you really, really, really won't care about pooey nappies or bogies or sick. I mean, the other week, Joel was projectile vomiting. It went all in my hair. I was drenched. I had to change my pajamas and I didn't care. I probably stayed like that for about 10, 15, 20 minutes before I got changed, because he was just clinging to me because he was so ill and he wouldn't let me put him down. You don't care. Like, if that was anyone else, before I had a baby, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to cope with the poo, things like that. You really don't care. So yeah, if you're pregnant at the moment and you think that you're not going to cope with the pooey nappies and the sick and all the disgusting stuff that comes with babies, trust me guys, it'll just be like clearing up your own, if that's not any less disgusting. But yeah, you really won't care. It will just become second nature, so don't even worry about it. And finally, number 12, you will get mum guilt about everything. You will probably check that they are still breathing about 5 times when they're in bed at night. Yeah, it's completely normal. It's just all part of being a mum, and it doesn't make you a psycho. And I probably go upstairs about 4 or 5 times every evening before I go to bed and just put my hand on his back and check that he is still breathing. It's just a thing that I have. But yeah, I wish someone had told me that you would worry that much about them and that you would feel guilty about every single thing. Like, if I leave Joel playing on his own in the living room while I just quickly pop into the kitchen to make his dinner, which takes like 5 minutes, I feel guilty that he's sat there playing on his own, even though I've just been playing with him for like an hour before that. You feel guilty about everything, like every single thing. And when you're pregnant, no one can ever prepare you for that level of mum guilt that you're actually going to get once they're here. And I never, like, people did mention it to me and I was like, no, I won't be like that. Like, I'm not really an overly maternal, like fussy mum. Like, it's just not really me. But yeah, the having a baby turns you into a massive sop, and the mum guilt is a real thing. So don't worry if you're due to have a baby soon and you do start experiencing insane mum guilt about every single thing. It's completely normal. Guys, there's probably like a load more that I could say, and I could sit here and go on about the top things that I wish I'd known like all day, but I'm not going to bore you to death. That's my top 12 that I wish I'd been prepared for before I had a baby. I hope that's been a little bit helpful for you if you're pregnant at the moment, or if you're in the newborn days and you're not sure what you're experiencing or feeling is normal. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, definitely do so. I would love to have you guys join me over here. I upload all things motherhood and a couple of hauls thrown in, and I try and upload, like, it was twice a week. It's probably more like once a week now. I've gone back to work, but I am very active on here every single week. I will catch you guys in the next video. Mwah. Bye.
I'm thinking you were made for me. Isn't it my birthday yet? 'Cause I gotta say, you're looking